right, let's get ready here. It's the final series of the day, day number 2 for Gamers8, and it has been absolutely awesome, wall to wall here so far, and I'm sure this last series is gonna be no different. Pig and Rotterdam joining me here to talk about, honestly, quite a great fixture, to be perfectly honest with you. Both players have looked excellent here throughout the tournament so far. They've looked excellent in recent memory as well. Cure goes up against Dark for the final spot, Rotterdam, in the round of 8.
This is something like a lot of people expect to be a quarterfinals, maybe even a semifinals.
Maybe.
That's how good these guys are. That's how hot they have been as well. It's brutal to say goodbye to another fantastic StarCraft 2 player. It's been awesome, but there's been a lot of heartbreak as well. And I'm still a bit heartbroken about Hero in that previous series, Claris. He was so close in every single series he played. Against Serral, he was so close. Against Dark, he was so close. And now once more against Solar. And now it's going to happen one more time, and it's either going to be Cure or Dark.
Yes.
I don't know. It's a 50-50, man.
It's 50-50. It's going to be down to the wire here. Pig, your thoughts coming into this one?
This is so hard. Cure is on such a tear recently. It's hard to see him losing. But you got to remember, Dark historically has like a 2-1 win record versus him.
Yeah.
Then on the other hand, Q has beaten him the last 3 times they've played, so I'm so back and forth on it. I always feel that when it gets late at night, you've had a long couple of days, everything's kind of chaotic, the games get messier. I always feel that does favor Dark a little bit.
Because it's dark outside, or? Yeah, I don't know. Like at this point, we can analyze numbers or previous series all we want, but I think we just had a perfect example. Solar was 1-9 the last 10 times he played against Hero. It does not matter when the stakes are this high, when we're deep into a tournament. We've had 2 grueling days of StarCraft 2. It really just comes down to who is able to still bring out his A game, who is mentally strong as well, who can stay in a game if you have a rough start, right? Like, we know that these guys are both incredibly good in this matchup. They both know what it takes to beat one another. It just really comes down to who can still bring it at the end of the second very long day.
I think my concern for Dark revolves around he's been through the ringer when it comes up against Terrans, right? I mean, if you think about the Clem match, you think about the Beyond match as well. Both of these go the distance, and he's able to look decent in the matches, but not able to close it out. And then going up against Cure, who is very good in the matchup as well, that's scary.
Especially because if you look at historically, when he gets the better of Cure, it used to be the old Broodlord. He could siege his army from 2 screens away. He can't do that anymore. That being said, Dark's a Chaos Master. He can do it.
Let's do it then. It's the final series here for day number 2. The final player moving into that round of 8. It's a great one. Cure versus Dark. Let's get to it. Let's get to the stage. Get to the matches.
You know, Fancy, we talked about long days, and these two have had the longest. Cure opened the day on the B stream, Dark opened the day on stage here, and now both of them are the last men standing.
Like we talked about backstage, it is a long day at the office for these guys. So honestly, I want to see how this one goes. أعزائنا المشاهدين، هذه المباراة بتكون آخر مباراة عندنا في اليوم. زيادة على كذا، كل الاثنين لعبوا بداية اليوم، الآن راح يلعبون في نهاية اليوم. ما أدري إيش أقول صراحة، الاستامينا حقتهم لازم تكون كويسة.
Yeah, like you said, long day at the office, but this match is going to decide who gets a weekend off and who's going to have to put in some overtime in that stacked bracket.
Yeah, that's exactly what's going to happen. Honestly, both players have a really good chance at winning this. لكن خلينا نشوف شو ممكن يصير لأننا جاهزين نقدم اللاعب الأول.
All right, I think our 2 players are just about ready to join us on stage. So without further ado, let's close out the day with a banger of a match. First up, from Abydos, Cure! Cure went 2-0 against Spirit, 0-2 against Maru, 2-0 against Clem, and 0-2 against Serral. This could be all or this could be nothing, Fancy, but I believe that Cure has it in him to take this match.
It's his last chance on stage أعزائنا المشاهدين. هذه فرصته الأخيرة. الآن كيور يا أما أنه بيتقدم معنا إلى البلاي أوفس يا أما بتنتهي مسيرته معنا في جيمرز 8 في هذه اللحظة في هذه المباراة. راح يعطي كل اللي عنده عشان يورينا وش اللي ممكن يسويه، لكن خصمه أبدا ما هو بسهل. كلكم تعرفون مين بيكون لأنه جاء عندنا في المسرح مرات كثيرة. خلينا نرحب فيه. ممثل فريق DKZ Gaming دارك. دارك زي ما احنا عارفين كان متواجد في بداية اليوم، افتتح معنا المسرح في الفرصة الأولى له في محاولة تعويض الخسائر اللي صار فيها بالأمس، لكن الآن هو عنده آخر فرصة على المسرح خصوصا بعد الانتصارات الكثيرة اللي لعبها، لكن لازم تحطوا ببالكم إنه خسر مباراة واحدة ضد زرق بلاير اللي هو سيرال، فممكن إنه يخسر المباراة هذه بعد.
A loss to Clem, a win over Elaser and Maru, and a loss to Beyond. But moreover, Dark has lived in this spot on this stage. He's got to be comfortable playing here, and he could take it all here.
خصوصا ان المباراه هذه مره بتكون تحدد مستقبلهم اثنينهم، لانه فيها هيستوري مره عميق. قبل ما نتكلم عن الهيستوري خلينا نشوف اللاعبين يسلمون على بعض.
Now, gentlemen, for the final time today, please join us at center stage to shake hands.
ابتساماتهم موجوده وجاهزيتهم موجوده لهذه المباراه، بدون انه عندنا اشياء كثيره نتكلم عنها، التاريخ ما لحقنا نتكلم عليه لانه مستعجلين مره، ودنا نشوف شو ممكن يصير في هذه المباراه. خلونا نروح للمعلقين، اكيد عندهم كلام كثير.
Summon your stamina, gentlemen, and casters, summon your stamina too. We're gonna take it home.
We have got all the stamina we need because we are expecting an epic TVZ here between Cura and Dark, two titans that consistently face off against each other, consistently push each other to the limits. We're really excited for this one. I'm Wardy, joined by Demu. How are we feeling for the last match of the day, Ben?
I mean, I can't believe that both these two are in this position right now. 2 and 2 apiece, Cure and Dark, like two of the very best in the world. And here they are, elimination. But that just goes to show how hard the tournament is. I was just looking at the rest of the players that made it into the top 8 so far, and I'm like, oh yeah, there had to be like a few people getting knocked out at this point. They're all freaking sick. Like, honestly, the true surprise of the tournament for me so far is Classic. He's obviously stepped up to another level. It's not as if he beat bad players. It's like 2-0 Reina, 2-1 Beyond, 2-1 Serral. So the fact that these two are making it here, I mean, somebody has to go home. It's just unfortunate these two have to run into each other right now.
I mean, look at Cura's losses Maru in a series where he could have very easily been at least 1-1 because that first game was a ridiculous turnaround by Maru. And he lost to Serral, and that was a bit more one-sided, but it's freaking Serral. We know he's on fire in that ZVT right now. Then Dark, he lost to Clem, he lost to Beyond. That's my only concern. His weakness has been a little bit of that ZVT. I mean, the good news is that Cure plays a bit different to Clem and Beyond, so maybe that's something that Dark has going for him.
Oh, I mean, Dark is a beast, isn't he? Like, he can really be a raging bull in this matchup. The thing about Dark is he has looked a little bit shaky in this tournament, you know?
Yeah.
Like, very often he has the flair. He still has the flair in his play. It's still absolutely beautiful to watch, but normally you can see all the dots connecting, right? Sometimes in this tournament it's been like, oh, where's the Dark of old? And I say that, but he bopped Hero 2-0. They were very weird games. He did narrowly lose to Beyond and stuff, but even in that series, it's like he left a game where he was maybe ahead. Like, he was definitely ahead in supply, so definitely not as confident as he has shown in the olden days.
Very true. He has a kind of a different style of Dark in a way, right? You can kind of tell he's almost maturing, and I don't want to say he's lost his edge, but, you know, because he was just in a GSL finals and everything, right? Absolutely. So, like, man is still looking good. It's just, maybe, yeah, he's not the sort of player I expect to leave early. Like, we maybe saw a bit early on, right? So, then again, I never thought Serral as that guy. He did that in Katowice, and look how he's bounced back. So maybe this is the bounce back right here, right now. As our two Koreans get ready to go head-to-head for a chance to be in the playoffs, a chance to maybe take home that trophy on Sunday.
It's just incredible, man. Like, if you're Cure, you're like, man, I'm like pretty much a top 3 Terran in the world. You know, like, Maru obviously steals the crown for that title, but this man over here, he's amazing. Like, he is absolutely ticking all the boxes for, like, macro, micro, strategic play, positioning, all that jazz. And he has to go up against one of the most fearsome ZVT opponents out there. And Cure, he's as standard as Terran is. And when Dark goes up against those kind of players, I feel that's where Dark is in his playground, in his element, because that's where he can truly be like, hey, you're going to play standard against me? I've got all the tricks in the book to really take you off the rails and bring you into my world. And that is always a scary Zerg to go up against.
Yeah, Dark really does like to make people play his game, play on his level. You're like, hey, I've got you on 50 drones, surely you're not in a great spot. And Dark's like, this is my playground, you know, this is why I'm at my very best. He is just a whole different beast to go up against. He's a different style of player. Very few people play Zerg like him. Definitely no one plays Zerg successfully like he does. And that's just fascinating, right? He really does have his own style. Cure, you know, he's great at that multitasking. I think we're going to see a lot of split army pushing in this series if we get into those later stages. That's something we've seen a lot from in TVP. It's worked well for him in TVZ. I think he's going to have to be a little aggressive throughout the mid stages. Even if Dark's trying to play some roaches and stuff, I feel like he has to keep that pressure up a little bit. Try and put Dark on the ropes.
Yeah, if there's one strength that Cure really has, I just feel it's his knowing what to do next.
Yeah.
He's very decisive about what the next step is and how he's going to approach the matchup. And that series that he had against Maru earlier in the tournament, I mean, that is definitely one of the defeats he's going to be kicking himself throughout his career, because 190 supply against 100 and you still end up losing the game, well, that kind of sucks. But we're going to get right on into it. Spawning over in the bottom right-hand side here on Gressvan, as I read Zerg, from Dragon Kaiser Gaming, it is Dark.
In the top left, representing Abydos, can he make it to the quarterfinals in the playoffs? This is Cure.
You know, Cure, I feel he's kind of like my Korean spirit animal, you know. We both got a scar on our arm from playing StarCraft 2, obviously, and, you know, he's arguably the second best Terran in the world. I also felt that I was the second best Terran in the world, you know. Maybe for like 1 week of the game. But no. I think Cure's an absolute beast, man. Whenever I watch him play, I'm just like, the way he plays, you can just tell he's a smart dude, you know. It just really resonates. It's not necessarily the most fancy micro play, but just the way he plays. I remember quite some time ago where he was really kind of engineering this 3-base push in TVZ, where it's like, no, I'm not going to take a 4th base. This is just a true rally push. I'm going to add Liberators to the mix as well. And he gave a lot of the biggest Zergs in the world a real run for their money. I remember taking him a series off Serral as well around that time. But now he's starting off the game, maybe taking a page out of Beyond's book over here with the 2 racks on the low ground.
Beyond, Maru, and especially on Gressvan, this was the first map that they all started doing the Reapers on. So if there is a map people experiment with this on, generally Gressvan is it. So that's what we're going to see from Cure. He's not a Reaper guy, right? Like, we don't think of Cure and think, oh yeah, he's a Reaper micro, but it is a good opening. It does give you great options afterwards. We saw that throughout the tournament so far. We've seen Beyond doing it, we've seen Clem doing it, we've seen as well Maru doing it. So it's Cure's turn to show us a little bit of this in the TVZ. His turn to show us what he can do with his Reapers and see if he can find some success here against Dark.
One massive thing for 2-Rex being so good on this map is the fact that Natural has that back ramp jump out of it. So you always have a path, an extra path to escape the Zerg base, just meaning that once you get 3 Reapers on the go, you're just making their life a little bit more problematic. The Queens have to be in the right positions, slows down creep spread, and also the rush distance across the map is fairly large as well. So you're pretty safe at home, don't really need to go for those Hellions early on. Did Dark? Okay, so it's just a slightly later gas here. Like, he slowed down that gas mining significantly, gets up that 3rd base nice and quickly, and these 3 Reapers already allowing a 3rd base to go down. That's not quite what Cure was after. And look at Dark being a cheeky little minx over there.
I love all of this because 2-Rax Reaper is difficult to deny the 3rd on once it gets up. So now Dog's going to go around the map and say, if you do try and dive on my 3rd, I'm going to get a little bit of counter pressure on. I'm going to force those Reapers to turn around, especially with these spawns. If there's a reactor and a tech lab that start building, you can get a cancel on those, and you can just slow down everything Cure wants to do. So it's a beautiful start here from Dark. That reactor is as good as dead.
I love what you said about the add-ons here. And this is Dark just being like 200 IQ, you know? Like, realizing those barracks had to be on the low ground, and those add-ons that you definitely want to be making as a Terran, no longer are they going up. Pretty much a dream scenario for Dark in his position, but he has to be careful.
Yeah.
We've already seen one time today where a 3rd hatch did go down, and wow, you know what? Even though it was 200 IQ, I'm almost like, was it worth it in the end, you know?
Was it worth it? But his Ling speed is so late anyway that would it be worth the Lings staying at home? Because what would they have done anyway, right? This is kind of my question. And now he's just going to take this different 3rd. The Queens will come over. Now the Reapers jump into the main. 1 Queen here, couple Lings. Again, that later Ling speed is going to be biting him for a little while, as we do have that grenade coming down to bump the Queen back. And Reaper's a little stuck, perhaps, trying to figure out the exit path. Like you said, there's that backward path in the Natural. If they need to jump down, the Lings with the Creep Sprite going to get 1 Reaper at least, and the other 2 will back away. 5 Overlords on the way from Dark as well. Definitely not a pretty opening.
Not a pretty opening, and Dark is just like, you know, I don't need Ling speed to necessarily grab these bad boys straight away. But finally, the stim does start up, but obviously a lot later than he was hoping, and what he goes for next, I mean, you do have to be careful against a player like Dark. I remember playing against TLO back in the day, whenever you made like engineering bays at that wall, or, you know, add on to that wall, you dare say Banelings could come online very, very quickly and stop that from happening. And that tech lab is incredibly exposed over there. Granted, no Baneling nests on the way or anything like that, so nothing he has to worry about too much so far, and it will be a Banshee transition.
Yes, it will be. Banshee and Cloak on the way up, and that's what's so fun about these openings. There's so many ways you can follow up. You can catch the Zerg very off guard. The Reapers will just protect the front a little bit. There's Marines behind the wall off now, of course. Those add-ons might have been delayed, but again, Dark's start was delayed heavily as well. So very fun position that we're playing out of here. And now Dark just going to retreat away with his Lings. That's Stim coming up from Cure. But again, I think most importantly, these Banshees and whether Dark has an answer to them or not is going to be our first real question of what happens next in this game.
Yeah, we can't forget that Dark had a very good scout on that third CC pretty much when it was like coming online. So he's droned like a crazy person, getting the double Evo up and running very early, most likely committing to a very heavy Ling Bane defense against all this. And these Reapers getting a little bit of damage done. 3 drones. I mean, honestly, that's pretty all right, because those Reapers already did their job with denying the third early on. And yeah, you can see here, Dark did see that third base very early. And those upgrades are so damn fast from the Zerg player.
Yes, they are. That is a fast melee upgrade setup, but that's why you don't have to lair quickly. That's why you're going to have a later baneling speed and also later mobile detection. So you're going to be super reliant on Spore Crawlers here against these Banshees, which I believe still we do not have any of, right? So this is really not super pretty if these Banshees get across the map and Dark isn't aware of them. Cure could find himself some mega damage, and if he does become that super aggressive follower player, dealing damage early with Banshees like this is the sort of damage that just sets you off in such a great position. It's so hard for the Zerg to get enough units out following drone damage to then be in an okay spot. So let's see what these Banshees do, making their way across the map, expecting them to preemptively cloak before they hit creep spread as well to stay hidden. There we go.
Yeah, really nice play out of Cure, and obviously you don't want to shoot that creep tumor and give away the plan already, because then, oh, no Spore Crawlers.
Yeah, he's got nothing, man. He has
oh my
And
goodness.
Lair's not even finished, so this is a, I mean, we're talking 10 plus drones. The only saving grace is one Banshee's lower energy. As here we go, and Dark is not going to be happy about this. No detection available, 5 drones already, and we've barely started.
Oh my goodness. I mean, this is a fairly common follow-up to this build. You know, we talked about it today, like the Starport, getting the Banshees out and stuff. And I mean, maybe, he was obviously expecting something totally different, but 18, 19 drones.
Oh.
I mean, he is going to get some counter damage done, but Cure is prepared for this. But oh my goodness, this is a true blunder out of Dark here. And look at Cure, he's not stopping.
I mean, he's killed everything on the natural. He's going to deny this 4th base a little. I think he's going to commit onto the Spore for just a few more moments. Just get the kill so it's gone for later. Force one more drone. Go finish it off. Okay, fine, don't. But I mean, the damage is fantastic. 20 workers net gain, because obviously Dark got a couple in return. But these Lings, you know, paid a price a little bit too. We do see the tank and a few Marines here still coming in. And of course, Cure still has the Banshees. Retaining those for later on, fantastic. And at this stage, if I'm Cure, I feel like I just add on barracks and we just sort of go. I know Grezvan may not be the best map for that, but this is such a good start. It's so difficult to stop any sort of 3-base pushing with this.
Whatever plan he had early on, he can carry on with it, right? Like, he is significantly ahead at this point. And even though supplies don't look terrible, every little trade like this, when you've already dealt damage, it's just salt in the wound. And I mean, the fact that he didn't finish off that Spore, I think he can finish it off later, but all this, Dark has to climb so hard uphill against all of this, because he's having to make units that he just can't really afford. It wasn't in the plan from the get-go.
No, it really wasn't. You're going to find another little bit of an unload before these Lings jump on this, so you will be able to fight decently once again, right? Just sat in the corner, getting a few more pickups. The Banshees put a bit more damage on that right side. They've backed away again, and behind this, Cure, he's got another kind of medevac setting up. So this is now an even larger attack in the bottom left. Baneling speed is still not done because this was melee upgrades before Lair, and this means that right now Cure's going to probably get this hatchery kill and at least stop Dark from having a 5th base.
I mean, those Banelings are not even quick Banelings right now, like you say. And I mean, the 5th base is shut down, but it's not as if he's been super mining from the 4 bases that he had. Now he's got up to a decent drone count, but Dark is going to have to work wonders in this game. Also, did you see that? He skipped out the 2nd melee upgrade and just switched into the range upgrade. Very interesting from Dark, because he has nothing really to utilize it with, right? I mean, the Queens, sure, but it feels like a big... Oh, okay, he cancelled it. He's obviously a little bit flustered here.
Yeah, that's a massive mistake. To the point where it's like, we're looking at it and it's like, it's Dark, right? It's so far along, surely there's a plan. It was a mistake to the point he cancelled it. There's no useful melee upgrade here. He's rushing Hive. He's trying to get to Burrow, comeback mechanism if you can get some Burrowed Banelings to catch some Marines, catch a big chunk. Maybe that's how you get back in this game, because right now, the momentum is in Cure's favor, and he might not come across the map and kill you. He's setting up a 4th base. He's looking to set up into a great future, but he might just kill him anyway if he just gets a bit aggressive.
I mean, Cure, this is a massive army. Like, he stopped SCVing when he hit 66, aka 3-base perfect saturation. He has to be careful, and he is very careful about these Banelings, but still 3 full drops that you have to worry about as Dark, and there's a massive army coming across the map. I don't know how many, okay, a good 4 or so tanks in the mix. One saving grace for him is the creep spread has been pretty damn solid, despite taking all that drone damage earlier.
Yeah, because the Reapers got kind of pushed back, and then obviously there's no Hellions in this game, right? And there's not been the initial medevac drops because there was Banshees, so the creep has had a chance to get further forward than maybe it usually would. And you're right, that's a saving grace as, you know, Kyo cleans this out and gets to push forward. It's taken him a few more seconds, and that gives Dark a bit of a better chance to maybe set up here. These Lings, though, you gotta be decisive. It was a very late stim from Kyo that wasn't necessary in the end, but Dark still took a lot of free damage there, and Kyo still has an SCV.
This is one of my favorite things about Cure, how he takes engagements. It's like, I've got enough Marines that you really have to respect this, but my whole army is off creep here. The tanks, they spread so damn deep. Dark's being very patient about this, though. There's still a drop that's trying to get into the main base, I do believe, amidst all of this, but Dark could not take a fight there, and he's been waiting for some very big upgrades coming online here. The 2-2, Adrenal Glands, Vipers coming out as well. Vipers could really throw a spanner in the works here.
Marine's going to get into the back of this main base. If nothing else, this might give Kyo a chance to move elsewhere as units come to respond to it. All these medevacs will go down. There is Kyo pushing forward a little bit further. These tanks still edging through. He's going to clean out even more creep spread. Taking away the creep control from the front of Dark's natural is going to make this a massive concern for Dark. And like you say, this tank line spread so deep. I think Dark has been right to be super patient because trying to take a fight early wouldn't have worked out, as Banshees are killing drones in the corner as well. Now he's got Vipers. Maybe they are the one thing that can maybe give him a little bit of hope, as Kyo is already so well set up defensively as well. He knows that one of the only ways to lose right here is to let massive counterattacks go down with no return.
Yeah, I just love how patient he's being, man. Like, Cure about this fight. Like, Dark cannot fight against this. Or, I mean, if he does, it's not necessarily going to be the best trade. This position of his army over here is great for tackling the reinforcements, but the reinforcements are sneaking on by, and actually, okay, for a second there, I was like, he has no goal of going for reinforcements. Oh, but this is not what you want. That is losing a lot of juicy supply. And Cure's patience here, he's just pushing him to the limit.
Yeah, these Banshees still alive from earlier. They got so much done at the start of the game. They set everything in motion, and they're still here towards the end. Still picking up drone kills, still dealing some damage. Finally, we're going to say goodbye to them, but they have truly been the MVPs here for Kyo because they just set everything else up. He's performed perfectly since then. Let's see how he does as a couple blinding clouds come down. We do see the flanking Ling Bane, but the tanks, like you said before, Ben, they run so deep. The Banes are going to get a couple shots off, but at the end of the day, the Marines are just very good. And of course, there will be a reinforced army behind us as well for Kyo, as Dark is going to fail to clean it out.
Mate, those Marines were like magnets there. Like,
yeah.
Cure, well played to him. 1-0 here. They were just dipping and diving and dodging, and honestly, very clean play out of Cure and Dark. Mate, there's so much on the line right now. Not having spores, being that greedy with your play. And I mean, to say how his scouting was with that third CC early on, it was clean, right? But then it just being like, oh my goodness, just what a skimper, man.
I know, and you're right, so much on the line because, you know, this is just one series in the group stage that can send you to the playoffs, but these guys have the potential to go all the way, right? So this is it. This is where your tournament life ends. This is where your chances die in what is the biggest tournament of the year right now for StarCraft 2. These Banshees, yeah, they did a lot. And like I say, the Banshees may have been MVP to set it up, but Kyo did everything correct since then, right? Like, he was very patient. He never didn't pay attention to a drop. He's very careful. This was the most reckless he was with a drop, but he used it to move everything else forward. So it was absolutely fine as well. The Banshees kept alive so they can come back again later. It's just beautiful Terran play from an advantage, and, well, I'm going to be seeing Kyo 1-0 up in this best-of-3 series. Dark, we'll see what map he has to play on next, because Grezwan first is sometimes the Zerg map pick.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's one of those that you don't want to go late game with a Terran because it's nice and easy to split, but after a game like that, I mean, Dark can shake it off and just be like, all right, you know, next game's obviously going to go better. I mean, even if I lose 23 drones, it'll be better than that game, because 24 drones to 2 Banshees, no Hellions or anything elsewhere, you know, it's just the 2 Banshees. That was an absolute disaster, but it still didn't look super damn over, which is kind of funny, right? Despite that damage, so there is hope for Dark and Dark fans out there.
Yeah, we'll see what the second map is going to be in just a few moments, as it looks as though, again, set up to head into our game number 2 of this best of 3. We're going to go into Royal Blood as we start off in the bottom left corner, up 1-0 and looking to make its way to the quarterfinals. This is Kyo.
And spawning over in the bottom right-hand side, currently 0-1 down, it is Dark. Yeah, if I just look at some of the players that these guys have played, like Kyo, the only 2 guys that he lost to so far, Maru and Serral. very arguably like seed 1 and 2 for the tournament, right? In most people's minds, it's like, who is actually the greatest of all time between those? I mean, I'm a Serral fan, but I mean, what Maru has been doing over in Korea is, you know, nothing short of absolutely amazing. So, oh, I mean, if he was to lose against like Serral, Maru, and Dark, that's just unbelievably good players to be running into in this kind of system. But same can be said for Dark, man. Like, these players, he lost to Clem, lost to Bjorn, and then, mate, that would be 3 Terrans in a row. That would be brutal for a guy like Dark, because this is a matchup that he's been so damn good in.
Yeah, it's not like ZVT's a weak matchup for him by any extent, as Kyo opens the Reapers again here on Royal Blood. I'm gonna be honest, not really expecting it. I know it worked out decently in game number 1, but to me, I was already surprised to see Kyo play Reapers on Grezvan game 1. Now he's gonna do it a second time in a row. He's just not been that guy online. He's not been that guy in the build-up to this event. But maybe that's some, you know, part of it. He's been kind of keeping his own Reaper builds back a little.
This is going to be a funky wall as well, man. Like, this is like a Rotterdam Protoss wall over here. Like, those add-ons going to be so damn exposed. But, you know, it's always a bit awkward when you spawn on one side of the map as opposed to the other. But even so, this map north to south, the Reapers will start coming out here. And I dare say this game cannot start off as disastrous for Dark. But Royal Blood, it's not an easy map to play on against Terran. It's a very short rush distance.
Yeah, but lots of ledges to work around as well. If you get a bit later, maybe as a Zerg, you can access the gold base a little bit. So maybe that's an option, but we're talking quite far down the line. There's a lot of things to worry about before we get there. And the first Reaper going to grab an initial Zerg lane, looking for number 2 already. As this Reaper's having a pretty good time, he's going to realize he can get one more here as well, so that's 2 links down. That's just with Reaper number 1, right? So second Reaper showing up, apparently going to run through the Queen a little bit, but that's fine. The other Reaper will just loop back around, and eventually these guys are going to be a team.
It's so hard to get your creep spread started against this kind of stuff, and I know a lot of players like to get it going very quickly, but when you've lost 2 links already, and there's 3 Reapers at your front door, and then you start to think like, okay, I have to start safe. Oh, even losing a drone here. Kyo's being smooth with his moves.
Yeah, I love that Dog puts his creep teammate down right now because he realizes Kyo's going to go elsewhere at the Reapers. Best chance to get that creep down. It's still being delayed a little bit, but better to get it down sooner rather than later. As we do have our Reapers now going to fight and get a few more link kills.
It's really good play out of Kyo. Like, honestly, he's not necessarily one of the fastest players like Maru out there, but the way that he's playing, it's just smart. He's going for 3 CC behind it. Like, it's the exact same build as he was doing before, which is cool, but it could be a completely different follow-up. Which I like it when players bring similar builds to this series, but they just do very, very different follow-ups. But it's going to be a tech lab on that factory for the starport. We could see the same thing again here, Wardy.
We really, really could. Dark might just be like, surely not twice this time. I really can't skip the spores. It sounds dumb, but it's the kind of thing that these players do, right? They try and cut every corner they can realistically cut. So we'll see exactly what goes down. Drones, Queens, obviously no tech choice yet from Dark, as he does now just put down a Roach drone, so it's going to be at the very least a little bit different from here. A 3rd CC finishing from Kua, our Marines popping out. And of course, just in general, getting defensive for a little bit because Link Speed's expected to be here right now. So we get defensive, we play it safe, and a Raven the choice this time around. Very different approach, especially without Hellions to kind of control creep as much.
Yeah, this is kind of crazy actually out of him, because I mean, not having the Hellions out, like, how are you going to utilize this Raven? Is it literally going to be to do some auto turret drops? Because I mean, they don't get much done, but also that Roach War on the way, Wardy. That's something that scares me a lot if I'm in Cure shoes, because if he was going for a Banshee, or even a safety Banshee, you know, the one Banshee opening, I'd have been like, yeah, this feels pretty damn solid, because he is very susceptible to any sort of pressure. I dare say it's not going to be pressure, though, because,
yeah.
Oh, I mean, Dark's crazy, man. Sometimes he can just whip it out and just be like, you know what? I'm not here to mess around and just throw it out, but it will be a lair on the go. Did he finish Link Speed? No. Okay.
Yeah, so he gets quite a few Roaches up, but he did drone Gear in it as well, so he's not going like you say for an all-out attack. And I feel like this is now best case scenario for Kua, because now he got away with the Raven. He's going to go double medevac, and he's going to be able to move around the map a lot. Apparently he's going to harass with this Raven initially. You don't necessarily need the energy on the Raven for a while for other things, so as long as you don't lose the Raven, you can still then bring it back, start clearing up creep with the Marine drop.
You're right, this is kind of a dream scenario, because that Raven, say if you are against that Roach blob, and it's like, you keep that Raven alive long enough and you have a 1-1 upgrade with all those Marines.
Anti-armor missile.
Absolutely, it's a dream scenario. Those roaches absolutely melt. But now, Cure's like, you know what? Let's move out a little bit. Those 3 Reapers can actually be quite a bit of extra firepower, and also just making the Zerg have to move around a little bit, because that creep spread, you have to start slowing it down at one point or another.
Even just keeping a few queens in the main base, right, means you can't have as many queens at the front. Maybe not as important because you're playing against roaches. If this was more Ling Bane, that might be more of a concern. And okay, we have to drop a scan to get the creep, but we get quite a lot of it. Q gets confirmation. Hey, I'm playing against roaches. Now we'll be able to adapt his army composition and choices to the fact that he's playing against those.
Yeah, absolutely. He's already on tank production, so it wasn't any of those cheeky plays where you skip out the tanks and just go straight for Widow Mines. I know that was all the rage for a little bit of time, but yeah, this Raven is just a pest over here. I mean, he has no way of killing it. He won't ever have a way of killing it. 1-1 is very close to completing here for Cure, and right now, he's just making sure that he's poking the bear a little bit, just making sure that the bear isn't coming over to his side of the map, right? Because his scouting information is very little right now.
Yep, extremely limited as we do see the infestation pitches popping out. Upgrade's about to kick in from Cure, but to be fair, he's just been very active on his own accord anyway. I love this. The Reapers just spread out for map control. Just keeping an eye on things because they're not, super worthwhile at this point. You can maybe do a couple cool things with them, but having map control, knowing where your opponent's army might be moving to, is extremely important as well. As we are moments away from our infestation pit, and we're going to see an immediate Hydra Den, immediate hive. The move to lurkers with a couple infestors is apparently on the way.
Doc's one of the only people that does this. Like, still, he's one of the only people that goes for roaches, then he's like, very quick hive behind it, very quick into the lurkers, the infestors especially. It's like one of his pretty much trademark units at this point. He's so good about the burrow on them and just getting these cheeky fungals off, but right now, he is surviving, and he hasn't taken any eco damage whatsoever, really. And finally, this Raven will get some turrets down, but these Queens are pretty much the only thing that's going to take a little bit of a beating here. And honestly, that Raven, fairly underwhelming start.
Yeah, hasn't really done much at all, and now it's low HP. It might be difficult to ever escape with it and getting back to the army to do those things we were talking about earlier with anti-hum missiles and all the rest is, yep, that's not flying to Queens either, Q. He's been pretty good about not doing stuff like that. He is now going to split off another couple of drops and just wants to, against this Roach army, try and pull it and pick it apart. There's our Lurker Den starting up. Obviously, with the Hive against these tanks, we also expect a couple of Vipers to pop out from Dark as well. But typically, he just wants this game to go on a bit. Like, really, once those Lurker upgrades are done, that's where he wants to be. That's a good 3 minutes down the line from here.
It's a long way down the line, yeah. And I mean, I say that, but Dark, the eco damage that he's taken thus far has been minimal, but these Marines kind of run in here very freely, but obviously there was something else happening, and Dark shuts down that east side drop over there very comfortably, and he's got a lot of gas to spend here, Wardy. Uses it a bit on the Vipers, most likely upgrade's going to come online as well, but he's hit Hive Tech already. Like, he's done this is a completely different game to Game 1 within regards to eco damage.
No, it's completely different. Dog's actually been given a chance to play his game. He's then playing a very different style to what he tried to play Game 1 as well. Q now going to start a bit of a move out here. He's got to be careful. Obviously, you're quick to get across the map, but those infestors can ruin your day if you run into one fungal too many or one fungal too early. First couple of Vipers popping shortly. That will help a lot to deal with these siege tanks. As you see, the Roach is still fighting off that drop on the left side. That's what Q wants. He still wants to keep a lot of units on that left side, so Dark can't just completely overwhelm the army over on the right side.
Yeah, it's also stopping the creep spread on that side of the map, right? Like, we look at this is a very claustrophobic situation for the Zerg player right now. He has to sit, buckle down, wait for upgrades to come online. He's maxed out, so I think he can break out if he truly wants to, but this, depending on when he chooses to do it, that Terran's about to hit 2-2. That's a massive boost to how strong that army just became.
Absolutely, there are lurkers here though, as the Raven's back in town, gonna get a couple of kills. Also on the natural expansion as the Marines try and get something done at the same time. Currently fighting a Queen of that Order turret on picture. That will go down. I believe the Raven is also dead, but we've kind of moved into position here. The only problem being the lurkers are gonna stop you from getting the final little rush distance toward that hatchery. So they are going to hold this off. Both supplies looking pretty even. Q coming down 2 tanks at a time, but there's some abducts. And that means we're not just stopping these tanks, we're straight up killing them.
I like how Dark's handling this, man. Like, I've been feeling how Cure's been handling a lot of this game, but now he's got to a stage of the game, oh my goodness, he realizes that he doesn't truly like where he's got himself into. Flies into this main with a huge bunch of Marines, and he's going to try and take out the 5th base. And while this is happening, the Hive is getting brutally low here. Just guns it down, does Cure, and Oh my goodness. All of a sudden, you can't make any more Vipers. Those two are the only last few on the field. But, oh my god, that's a ragtag army left out in the middle of nowhere if I've ever seen one.
I mean, there's a lot of supply. He flew in with 5 medevacs, 4 of them were full. 1 medevac unit gets down. All of that for Hive. Don't get me wrong, killing a Hive is nice, but killing a Hive is nice when you lose like a medevac units for it. 3 medevacs are units for a Hive. You can see that Dark realizes that was way too good of a trade for himself as well, so he's going to try and punish Kua here, who still has units all around the map, really trying to take advantage, and he is going to force Dark to pull back a little bit, so he's going to have a few more moments before the bigger action happens. He's going to turn around, that medevac A didn't die. He did keep the Viper alive as well. Some crazy micro moments between these two.
I love that he went for the Viper though, realizing he just took out the Hive, because, you know, cutting that count by 50%, that's big. 10 drones did just fall here. He sees the main hatch getting remade, but all of a sudden, Dark's starting to feel like, oh my goodness, am I taking too much damage here? And Cure, he's feeling great, man. Like, don't get me wrong, I think Dark's army, if he moves across the map, that's the one thing Cure doesn't want to happen. He's trying to get that ghost switch going, and you can see that his goal is to keep Dark on his side of the map, truly. And look at Dark, is he getting ready to go? Because I feel it, man. I feel that he's starting to posture a bit aggressively here.
He moved through the middle one time, then he did pull back. Now he loses the spawning pool as well. He did pull back, and since then he's kind of just been pinging left and right. And I think it's very important for Kyo because the army on the right side, those tanks he's left behind, isn't actually that strong. So the fact he's been able to keep those there and keep Dark pressured is incredible. It goes to say just how good he's been doing otherwise. As our Marines are back over on the drop, this time in the natural. We do have to lift this base up here as Kyo, but like you say, we've got Ghosts out. That's something he was building towards, and that's going to help massively against these lurkers.
Dark's bank's gone. Like, he's got a lot of minerals, obviously, which can be a lot of lings, but I still don't think he has the ling speed, right? I mean, I might be wrong there, but he's not invested in any upgrades.
Did he rebuild his spawning pool even?
I don't think so. I don't think so at all. He's really struggling here, and I mean, this is getting out of hand, man. This little handful of tanks here, they are trading more than efficiently against this army. This is not good for Dark.
Wow, they're doing so much more than I ever thought they would. When I thought this army was left here, I thought this would never really achieve much, but he's going to win the fight. Dark losing so much. These few lurkers over here have been an annoyance. They've had to back away now as the scan came down. Ghosts are finding snipes though, and they're knocking down lurkers, and Dark slumps in his chair. He realizes that with all the damage he's taken, he just hasn't achieved enough. Back on the other side.
No, this is really bad for Dark now. He's feeling the pressure. Like, even if it wasn't a bad situation, seeing him think it's a bad situation is just not good for him. Lurkers cleaned up over here in the south as well. Spawning pool only just being remade at this point. I don't think he has a Hive remade either, right? And I don't have... No, he doesn't.
Have a lair.
No, he's in
He can't build it, he doesn't have a pool.
Oh, he's in terrible shape, man.
Yeah, he's all in with this push right now.
He's so all in. Look how many ghosts there are. There's a lot of tanks here as well. I mean, there is no lurker in the mix. Beautiful fungal landing on these ghosts. They can't do what they want to, but I don't think it matters at this point. GG. Cure is the final player to move on to the top 8. And what a series he put forth. I mean, the first game, 2 Banshees killing 24 drones for free. Second game, just a few fights went his way. That Droom drop into the main that we thought was absolutely loco, but frickin' A, man. Cure played solid, clean, and I think Dark just maybe feeling the pressure a little bit.
Kyo did such a good job after that Doom drop, because I really didn't think that was great, and I think his play after kind of made it look better than it was, right? Because it was the follow-up, it was the continuation that really kind of worked out so much better for him. And Kyo is going to turn out to be gamer number 8 to make it to the playoffs.
You know what? And what I loved about Cure as well, like, he had a goal. It was like, okay, I need to buy time now. Like, and he did everything he could. That single drop in the back of the natural and the main and stuff, that did so damn much. And then a fight on the left side, and you really could tell, even those tanks that were positioned on the far right, just being a nuisance. Absolutely gorgeous play out of these players. Anyhow, we get to hear from the man himself, moving on to the top 8.
Kier, congratulations, closing out the day with a 2-0 victory. You've got a great record versus Dark. Tell us a little bit about him as an opponent.
일단 이기는 게 축하드립니다. 다크랑 뭐 3개 한 번은 붙었는데 그리고 그 3개 중에 다 이겼잖아요. 이거에 대해서 좀 말씀해 줄 수 있나요?
일단 제가 영웅 VOD를 보면서 좀 전략을 짰는데 그게 좀 잘 먹혀가지고 다 유리하게 시작해서 운영하면서 좀 편하게 했었던 것 같아서 그래서 그게 승리의 요인이었던 것 같아요.
So I think that my strategies that I did were good on my hand, and that went well for me, and I was pretty comfortable with that.
السؤال الأول اللي سألناه كيورا أعزائنا المشاهدين بعد فوزه في هذه المباراة كان بخصوص الهيستوري اللي بينه وبين دارك في كل المرات اللي تواجهوا فيها في آخر 3 مرات سواء كان في لان أو أونلاين دائما نشوف إن كيور هو الأفضل فكيف الشيء هذا ساعده إنه يجهز المباراة هذه جواب يقول إنه صراحة الاستراتيجيات حقاتي اللي أنا أسويها قدام دارك بالذات دائما أكون مرتاح لها وأنا واثق فيها وقدر إنه يطبقها وفاز في المباراة.
It was an impressive match against him. It's been a long day for you, but there's still 2 days of competition ahead, and you're heading into the bracket. Who would you most like to go up against?
일단은 너무 긴 하루였는데 누가 제일 경기하고 싶은지 그 상해 8명한테.
일단 스타일만 보면 솔라 선수가 제일 편해서 솔라 선수랑 하고 싶습니다.
So looking at the styles of the player and how they play, I think the solar player is who I want to go against.
زي ما تشوفين اعزائي المشاهدين حرفيا المباراه هذه بما انه فاز فيها كيور خلاص عرف انه يبي يقدر يضمن تاهله الى التوب 8 يكون من ضمن اللي معنا في البلاي اوفز فسالنا سؤال انه مين اللي انت حاب انك تواجهه من البلاي اوفز بما انه خلاص انضمنت تواجدك معنا في الكوارتر فاينلز فكان الجواب يقول انه صراحه سيرل هو اكثر واحد انا ودي اني انافسه وعلى فكره ترى كل الناس اللي كانوا معنا في المقابلات دائما يقولون سيرل هو الشخص اللي ابغى اواجهه وكيور يبدو لي انه يتوافق معهم.
Well, it's been such a long day for you, Cure, and you definitely earned the opportunity. So is there anything you'd like to say to all the fans, everyone supporting you at home and your team?
팬분들한테 뭐 가족한테 하실 말씀 있으신지.
이렇게 큰 국제 대회에서 8강 올라가는 건 또 처음인 것 같은데 이번엔 좀 다른 때와는 다른 것 같아서 좀 최선을 다해 보도록 하겠습니다.
So this is my first time going in a huge tournament like this, and I'm really hoping that I would win. So I will do my best.
السؤال الأخير في المقابلة أعزائنا المشاهدين سألنا كيور إذا عنده شيء حاب يقول لكل المعجبين وكل الفانز اللي يدعمونه إلى اللحظة هذه في البطولة فكان جوابه يقول إنه أنا صراحة يعني شيء نادر بالنسبة لي إني أكون موجود في بطولة كبيرة زي بطولة Gamers8 StarCraft فهل الشيء هذا ما راح إني أضيع الفرصة هذه فأنا راح أحاول قد ما أقدر إني أفوز.
You should definitely be proud of yourself if this is how you're performing in a first-time event that's this big. I'm just very impressed. But what is important to do well in this tournament is rest. And so I'm going to let you get some rest tonight. I'm going to get everyone else to head back to bed. But anything else to add, Fancy, before I also send it back to the desk?
I mean, honestly, today was a great day. And tomorrow is going to be different because we don't only have the quarterfinals. We have something else special for everyone.
Yes, yes, we do. Are we teasing it? Are we hyping it? Check the website. Send it back to the desk. They'll tell you all about it.
خلينا نروح على الاستديو أعزائنا المشاهدين.
All right, Cure is able to blast and find himself that last round of 8 spot. And of course, Fancy talking about those Legends tournaments, which are going to be extremely exciting coming up to tomorrow. But before we get to all of that, let's talk about Cure versus Dark here. As I think like so many of our series went 2-1, 2-1, down to the wire here. But Cure looked excellent in this last series.
Cure looked fantastic. I mean, Cure dominated all of the series that he won yesterday and today. And the only 2 series he lost were to Maru and Serral. I mean, those Banshees were the thing of nightmares.
Yeah, I can't really remember the last time I saw 2 Cloak Banshees kill 20+ drones, Polaris. Like, we were talking about it before this series started, right? We know that they are capable of beating one another. It's just who is going to bring his A game, who is going to be sharper. Well, take a look at this Marine Micro, because obviously Cure was already dominating this game, but I was like, this could still get scary. Cure is like, no, mate, it's not scary when you control your Marines like me. Cure just played a whole lot better, to be honest, than Dark.
Yeah, definitely. Game 2 rolls up as well here, and Cure really doesn't let his foot off the pedal. I mean, he's sniping off hatcheries here, whilst it's just kind of Roach Ravager, a few Hydra sprinkled in here, Pig, but it's not to be for Dark.
Yeah, I mean, Dark is the master of getting these amazing little tactical engagements.
Yeah.
And he got a few of them, but Cure was like, no, I know you're playing that super slow style. It's all positional. Snipe the hive, dive here, dive the left, dive the right, expand too fast. Cure did too much. Dark cannot keep up with that pace for this style. It's just excellent play.
It's weird though, right? Because Dark is that big game player that we have seen peak in the past. Dark can look mediocre in online tournaments. Dark can look mediocre in some of the minor offline tournaments where the prize pool isn't that massive. But normally, an event like this, that's where the very best of Dark shows up. And didn't really see it, to be honest, throughout this entire group stage, because he even got a bit lucky against Hero as well. It wasn't Dark's weekend. Cure just played better.
So on the left are players moving through into the round of 8. On the right are players that are unfortunately eliminated for them. Dark pipped just at the post here at the very end. And what is important as well is, of course, if you turned up and you were able to qualify for Gamers8, you guaranteed yourself $5,000. Now, everybody on the left-hand side, for 2 days worth of StarCraft, has already guaranteed themselves $16,000. Never mind the opportunity to strike out that $150,000 for first place.
That is super cool. And what I also love, by the way, is that it really shows how competitive this entire Swiss format was, because there is not a single player who didn't win a single map. Actually, all of them at the bare minimum won 2 maps, which means twice they were awfully close to winning a best of 3.
True.
And it really goes to show that this was a nail-biting start of the tournament. It was very fierce and competitive for everyone besides Maru. Maru wondered why the hell everybody sucks, and he just kind of stomped everyone he played. But if you take Maru out of it, everyone had to work so hard for either making it to the playoffs or did their very best in trying to make it, and unfortunately they fell short.
Yes, of course. If the 7-time GSL champion wouldn't look so excellent here after winning another GSL. But I mean, looking at that and how it worked out, of course, as you say, he did look spectacular here. I mean, for all intents and purposes, the round of 8 that we have is awesome. And of course, we just saw, it wasn't on the mainstream, but Clem has been able to attain that spot as well in the round of 8.
Yeah, and I think a little bit of a surprise there to see him fight through a bit of that, the trials, the tribulations. Sorry?
Against Spirit? Surprise, surprise?
I'm surprised to get through the opposition overall.
Ah, okay, I see what you're saying.
Him and Spirit have been trading series back and forth recently when it comes to like the weekly cups and that sort of thing. But I think there's a lot of people saying, you know, will the nerves get to him? And Clem fought through a long, hard day of games.
Yes, no, I mean, to be honest, he's been kind of bopping Spirit lately. Spirit does very good against Gabe, but Clem pretty much always bops Spirit. I think Clem maybe got a tiny bit fortunate that Spirit was his final opponent, because the 4 guys he played before that, I think, are traditionally stronger players than Spirit. And even though Spirit, we talk about it, he's been good for a long time. He's probably hitting the stride in his career. He's playing better than he's ever done. But that was still a good opponent for Clem, because Clem is familiar with his game, and Clem knows that he can get the best of him. Like, saying that Clem in the top 8 is surprising, I think it's silly, because we know that Clem, if he's feeling it, he can look literally like the best player on this planet. However, it is a big moment for Clem to finally do it at an offline event, and it's not just the Home Story Cup. No, this is a big one for all the marbles, massive prize pool, the world is watching, so it's big for Clem.
And the world is watching. Boys, are you ready for the bracket for tomorrow?
No, I'm not, but yes, I am.
No, I don't. No, yes, okay. It was like Ben when he wasn't hungry yesterday. Okay, let's take a look. It is the bracket, the round of 8 for tomorrow. What's it gonna be?
No.
Okay.
Oh my.
Maru versus Clem, Reina, Bjorn, Serral, Solar, Cure, and Classic. I know what you might be knowing at here, Roddy Dam.
I feel that Clem has a shot against everyone, and there's probably one guy he really did not want to play, and that's Maru. Maru, the god of TVT. It is going to be obviously a banger of a matchup, but I think that's worst case scenario for Clem. Maru probably doesn't mind all that much, but yeah, that is an incredibly sexy bracket. Rain or Beyond, by the way, that is fireworks, something that has happened before, and it always delivers.
Yeah, Rainer kind of got outplayed by Beyond, I think, in Sweden, and got a little bit lucky.
Oh, he would fight you over the lock statement, by the way. He's like, no, I went Super Saiyan.
Yeah, that's why the 60 Marines move commanded into his Banelings, I'm sure. I think even Rainer would have a hard time arguing that one. I mean, honestly, though, Beyond's looked pain-free in the series he's been playing up on stage. He's been looking pretty comfortable, so I'm very excited to see Beyond looking in form. That series is always fireworks. It's going to be just fast-paced action.
I suppose before we actually move on from the bracket, I do want to ask you one question, Rotterdam, because we do have one Protoss remaining. It is Classic. He's going up against Cure. What do you think his expectations should be here for the bracket?
I think it could have been worse, obviously, but then again, he has already exceeded all of our expectations. Like, I did think we're going to see at least one Protoss in the playoffs, and I had hopes for 2. And to be fair, all Protoss players had a chance in making it, because they were all close. They've all won series. There isn't a single Protoss player that didn't win at least one series, but they could have won more. If Classic keeps playing the way that he has been playing, I mean, the man took down Serral today. Serral never loses in this matchup. He has a chance, but we just saw Cure. And Cure is an absolute animal if he's feeling it.
Yeah,
And the only two players that Cure lost to so far, because some people may be like, oh, Cure was in the decider match. Is he not feeling it? Well, Cure lost to Maru and Serral. Besides those two guys, he actually looked very convincing in his other series. So is Classic an underdog? Maybe a tiny one, but then again, he looked so good so far in the first 2 days, so it's possible.
It's possible. It is possible. All right, we've got to move on, of course, as well as we have accolades to attribute to players here throughout the day. So, first things first, let's look at the Dr. Suleiman Al Habib defense of the day here at Gamers8 and see who was able to take the top spot. Reina versus Showtime. Which moment is this?
Oh,
This is probably the Blinding Cloud moment, right? Oh no, this is actually that final fight. This is a very good final fight where, I mean, this game was just bananas, and we actually kind of thought that Raynor was dead. But then he started neuroparasiting a High Templar, he landed a couple of feedbacks, and he just went for it.
yeah, he dove on top. This was actually really nice the way he avoided a lot of the Archon hits, got in, took out the Tempest, and then got on out of there. And he had a whole bunch of Ravages in
The
reserve.
Blinding Clouds?
But
Did they come?
at the end of the day, no, this was not the Blinding
This is the
Cloud.
best defense.
This was Showtime defending. So
okay.
even though Showtime lost his Tempest, he circled, lured them over the Archons, and remember there was a Disruptor shot at the start that actually broke a few of the Neuroparasites as well. And the counterattack, yep, there's a lot of Corruptors left over, but there's not enough on the ground to defend those blue boards. What was missing in this fight? What got forgotten, Roddy?
We took a little look at the unit count there. We see it again. There are 7 lurkers. Raynor had 7 lurkers that he forgot about in his third base. We mentioned it to him as well. Obviously, would only ever do that because he won the series. If he lost, we would not be allowed to talk about it for 8 months. And I was like, do you know? And he's like, yes, I know. Yes, I know. He just cut me off immediately. So he realized afterwards. But since that was such a bananas game and that final fight was that close, with those 7 lurkers, maybe it wouldn't be the best defense from Showtime, but it could have very well been Raynor's best defense.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you lose less Broodlords if the Stalkers can't blink
7
forwards.
lurkers is a lot, Kalaris.
They would rip them apart. All right, well, again, I'm not going to ask somebody if they're hungry because it backfired on me last day.
Try me.
Okay, Rotterdam, are you hungry?
Yes.
Oh, jeez,
I am, James.
that was
Why?
a close call, that. Because it's time to look at the KFC Colonel's Choice moment of the day here, brought to you by KFC. So let's do that and see what it was. It's going to be Solar going up against Maru with... I see 1 Reaper right now. What's this?
Oh, I think this is the beginning of a bunker going up into the third base. And we are familiar with Reaper openings in this matchup, Piggy. What I'm not familiar with, though, is Reapers killing a third hatchery.
Yeah, I mean, if they do get a cancel, it's because they commit there from the start. But to get all that damage, then go down to the third was such a cool little adjustment. And the Reapers even bouncing those Queens away to buy as much time as possible. And, I mean, I think what I liked most about this was the kind of frustrated laugh from Solar after this all went down, because he did not look happy after this happened.
Now, a cancel would be bad, but what's a whole lot worse than a cancel is a straight-up kill, because you don't even get the money back. Like, this is just obviously not supposed to happen, but whenever Maru is behind the wheel, Maru is able to just get that little bit of extra value. And that's the moment the realization sank in. It was at this specific moment he knew well, I won't finish that one, James, because I'm not Benjamin Baker, but he knew.
This test segment's going much better than yesterday's. No,
I wonder why.
Of course. Finally, of course, we have our Quidia MVP to actually take a look at as well here. So we're going to take a look at who was able to attain that. But I mean, like, looking at that kind of moment, it's why you think, like, Maru looked so good throughout the days. Just how does someone get away with that? And it's an exponential problem. Losing a hatchery and that much minerals that early is a big problem.
Yeah, I mean, it was actually insane the way Solar kind of bounced back from it. I was talking about Solar just getting punched in the face repeatedly versus Maru, and he's still, like, even in the mid-game. You're like, I don't know how Solar does that, but if Maru stacks up those sort of moves, it becomes so hard to deal with. And this was Maru's approach as well, you know, not dropping any maps. I'm excited to see what he does, because up to now it's been planned aggression, sneaky attacks. I can't wait to see if he keeps that up, or does he go back to macro mode tomorrow?
I'll see. We will see. All right, the Quidia MVP. Let's take a look at who was able to attain that here throughout the day as well. Actually, I don't know who it's going to be. Classic, of course. Ooh. He actually did look great throughout the day.
That's a well-deserved MVP, because Serral does not lose a whole lot against the aliens, but this man today showed up in a very big way, and it wasn't a random win. It wasn't a cheeky win of like, oh, I did this super weird all-in that's going to work one time and one time only. No, he just just hang with Serral for all of it.
Yeah.
And he played fantastic. And if you win an offline best of 3 that truly matters because playoff berth was on the line, you deserve MVP of the day.
And of course, he actually is on Twisted Minds, just to clarify all that as we were taking a look at that. And actually, speaking of Twisted Minds, I actually do want to bring up the club awards that are currently going on here throughout Gamers8, because it's not just StarCraft that's going on, it's a festival of gaming. We've got concerts going on, everything like that. And the club awards is obviously an important part of this. Now, Twisted Minds is doing very well, but another team has just sprung up to be doing very well as well. And this is all off the back of Clem being able to take a top 8 spot. Now, because that has happened here, that means now that Team Liquid is eligible. They've played enough games so far across this tournament, or the tournaments, to be able to move into a position where they've put themselves in 3rd place. Rotterdam, do you know how much 3rd place currently is in the club awards?
I do not, Kalaras. Why don't you tell me?
$800,000.
So that was a nice TVT that Clem just won. That's what you're telling me.
Yes, if he does not beat Spirit, that does not make them. Basically, you need to make a top 8 in each game to be eligible to be able to count as a game represented in the club awards. So Clem, for Team Liquid, has pushed them into an unbelievable position. It's not obviously confirmed so far, but so far in the standings, Pig, that's huge for Clem and Team Liquid.
Yeah, I mean, there's some big series. I remember sometimes, like, we're like, man, this is a $3,000 or a $7,000 series. Occasionally you get like a finals where it's like, this is a $60,000 difference between this spot and this spot. I don't think we've ever seen an $800,000 series before,
No.
so that's pretty cool.
No, absolutely, absolutely. And I mean, you know what, Roddy? I'm gonna go back. Sometimes I say, but has he shown up offline? For that, for potentially, if they stay in 3rd place, for potentially $800,000, never mind what he could potentially do here in StarCraft as well, that's pretty good.
No, that's amazing. But it's already been such a great weekend for Clem. I'm sure that would make him incredibly happy. But right now, Clem is not even thinking about that.
No.
He will always do his absolute best for Team Liquid to represent them in the best possible way. And if he can help them with the club awards and push them up the ranking and win a lot of money, that's fantastic for TL and Clem.
Absolutely.
But Clem right now is only thinking about one guy, and that is that super scary Terran that's waiting for him in the quarterfinals. Because if you talk about a tough draw for extra club legend rewards, Claris, Maru quarterfinals, it's going to be tough.
And of course, tomorrow not only do we have our round of 8, but we also have our StarCraft 2 Legends tournament coming up. Pig, I am actually so excited because it's this weird novelty of these players that we grew up with, we loved watching here at the start of StarCraft 2. They're back again. Stefano's been around still a little bit longer than that, but it's going to be great tomorrow.
It's been weird. Like, we're such big StarCraft fans, and to see the guys who were literally the best players back in the day splashing each other in the swimming pool in the hotel has been fantastic and weird. It's been great to see them practicing in the area. MMA's kind of talking to Spirit, going, oh, tell me some build orders and stuff, and it's just kind of awesome. I think they're all kind of prepared and pumped to be playing for a whole bunch of money on a big stage again.
Final thoughts, Roddy?
I know it's been a very long day, but I've got a tiny story that I do think is going to make you smart, Lars.
Sure.
So the Legends have their own dedicated hotel room with 4 PCs where all the desks connect to each other, so they can actually play some StarCraft and practice for this event. Stefano told me he walked in and MVP was sitting there, and he's like, man, his hands are actually moving like kind of fast. He's like a little bit faster than what I expected. So Stefano was sitting on the other side of MVP where they can't see each other's monitor. He's like, so I set in, I loaded into a game versus the AI. He's like, and I went ham. 550 APM super click just to intimidate the hell out of MVP. And he's like, I think it worked. Like MVP kind of flipped over. He was flipping his keyword like no tomorrow. He's like 1-0 for me.
This is like what noobs think StarCraft 2 players are doing. They're like smashing keys randomly. Like,
I can't believe this is real, but it's definitely real. That's ridiculous. All right, and we're going to end it on that. Thank you very much, Roddy. Thank you, Pig, for joining me here. Thank you to all the casters throughout the day as well. And thank you to you tuning in at home for Gamers8. It's been an absolute pleasure for day number 2. Tomorrow we are back, same time, same place, where we have, of course, that round of 8 later on in the day. But we start things off with the StarCraft 2 Legends tournament. So make sure to tune in. It's going to be a banger, as always here. We'll see you tomorrow.